G'day everyone, welcome back to the late afternoon glass off. My name's Finley. I'm joined here by my good friend Zach. Zach, I believe you got some money for me.
Yeah, straight into it, mate. There we are. Transfer of funds on camera. It happened.
Thank you, sir. That was the stupidest bet of all time. I'll just chuck that in there. What were you thinking?
I'm a risky man.
Yeah.
I like taking risk. I don't really like doing safe bets, and that is the only bet I do on surfing.
Yep.
For that very reason, I thought I'd be really good at it when it first came out in the sport. Turns out I'm just fucking terrible at it.
Yep. And for those that don't know, Zach bet me $20 and I had to give him $100 if Steph Gilmore didn't make it out of the elimination round. Now, she got second in her first heat, so she didn't even go into the elimination round.
Yeah, I was fucked from there.
Zach was screwed the second. She got like a 6.5 in her first wave. And
Yeah, we were watching that together and we both looked at each other and my face said it all.
Yeah, it was just pure disappointment. So anyway,
You win some, you lose some, and I lost this one.
if you make more bets like that, you're going to lose a lot of bets.
I
But
just don't.
Yeah.
I've given up years ago. Like I said, when it first came out, I thought I'm going to fucking live off this. This will be my wage for the year.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. I remember getting like not even one little green fucking tick.
I'm getting a lot of green ticks and one red tick.
Oh,
which
that's
is,
worse.
Which is actually worse. But anyway, for those that already have, thank you very much. But just make sure, guys, if you can, follow us on Instagram, TikTok. If you're on there, you're probably not. At The Largo Podcast, and like and subscribe on YouTube, The Largo Podcast. And if you've got anything to say, drop a comment too, because we reply to all of them. There's not many, but we will reply to you. So shoot us a comment too. Zach, what's been going on this week for you?
We had a little bit of a sleepy start to the week. It was a public holiday in Queensland, Labor Day.
Yeah.
That night, that was Monday, so I went to the ASI Awards. Not awards, so honours night. So Australian Surf Industry honours night. That's where Laura was congratulated on being Surfer of the Year. Jack McCoy got an award, and Take 3 for the Sea also got a mention as well. So I just enjoyed the free beers there and showed my face there.
Yeah, cool.
Other than that, just been catching up on a lot of life admin, being home, not on the road. And today I went for a surf, and it was the first time I could see my feet kind of in weeks.
Where did you surf?
Surf Spot X.
Yeah.
Little, it's not even secret or anything like that. It's just in between Sharps and Flat Rock.
Yep.
Still a bit dirty. Still a bit sus out there. What about you?
I surfed in front of Lennox Surf Club, and you couldn't see your feet. It was gross. So hopefully that resolves itself soon. But I mean, in our weeks, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot happened. But what did happen? Some pretty huge news straight off the press at the WSL this week. They've done a massive shake-up to 2026 tour. New CEO Ryan Crosby's come in and just swept the joint out and made some pretty big changes. You did a bit of research on Ryan. What's his background?
Yeah, so I feel like most of our audience probably don't really know who Ryan is. And to be honest, they keep his name out of it. Like, he's not on the broadcast. He's not kind of there, with the surfers. He's a very business-orientated man. I doubt he even comes over to these kind of things. He's probably in his corner office on the 67th floor in Miami or some shit, putting fuel in his boat. I don't know. But yeah, he's got a really impressive, we'll call it resume.
Yep.
He's come from Netflix. He's come from Hulu, Activision. Do you know what Activision is?
Is it games?
Yeah.
Yep.
Call of Duty. Best
Right.
ever Call of Duty ever made for all you fucking nerds out there. I'm a nerd, so I can say that. Modern Warfare 2.
Yep.
Bit of Rust.
That was him.
Quick scoping. That was him. That was him doing that. So, he was looking after the marketing for them, as well as he looked after the marketing strategies for things like Stranger Things off Netflix.
Okay.
The Punisher.
Yep.
Pretty crazy, list of achievements that he's done. So And then previously before WSL, he was at Riot Games. So, yeah, he knows what the fuck he's doing, and it's clearly evident with what he's just come out swinging with.
For sure. Just based off that list, I'm going to make a prediction here. In the next couple of years, surfing is going to be pay-per-view. Just looking at those things that he's come from, Netflix, all of the gaming areas, like I think it's going to be pretty heavily pushing surfing down that path, but we'll see. But yeah, the changes. So in my opinion, every single one positive. I didn't see any of these changes and go, oh, you don't really need that. Probably the biggest straight away, no more final five. Thank God.
Yep. I think, yeah, it's just, it was for so much hype and talk about it all year, it just never really hit the mark. It never really had that prestigious feel like obviously we're comparing that to the Pipe Masters.
Yep.
It never hit that. It never got back to that benchmark. So I feel like the final five, some might love it, but I feel like the majority of the core surf industry didn't like it.
For sure.
And so it's great to see it go, in my opinion.
I'm 100% with you. I just think it's let the surfers put a year-long campaign together. I'm a big advocate for that. Like growing up, you'd see Kelly, you'd see Andy, you'd see Mick, all those guys. They'd be putting a year together, and sometimes they'd win before Pipe, which was like pretty impressive in itself. Other times it'd be decided on the beach at Pipe, but let them put together a year of surfing where they're not reliant on getting there at the end of the year and then you rock up and you're pretty much, if the ocean's your friend that day, you're going to probably win the title. Like you could be the best surfer all year. We saw it a couple of times with Chris and Moore and the like. She'd rock up there after dominating all year and then not win the title. I just think get rid of it. So
I think what they tried to do is mimic a few other sports.
Yeah.
Say football. I think how many rounds before the finals and they start straight knockout there?
So you go like 27 rounds and then you go into your top 8. Everyone else has the off season, starts their off season.
And then as the finals get closer, they're obviously promoting that heavily.
Yeah.
And that builds anticipation and it's really good for the viewer. And I think it works.
Yeah.
But the thing about the football, the stadiums aren't different.
No,
they're not like a different specific set of skills at each stadium.
For sure.
It's just fucking grass and it's mown.
Yeah.
And you run that way.
For sure.
So I get it. Some people it's good to see it go straight knockout at a certain point or like a cut, something like that.
Yeah.
But I just think there's so many, factors and aspects to surfing at different locations that favour some and don't favour others. Yeah. And to just say, you get cut at this and you're done is unfair. And for me, the location that really, showcases that is Trestles. I feel like everyone should get at least a go at Trestles.
Yeah.
But it's the first stop they go to.
Yeah.
Well, was and still is the first stop they go to after they get rid of 10 surfers, is it? Something like that?
Yeah.
So that one for me was just really bizarre.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see it go.
No, I'm right there with you. Next one, no more cut.
Yeah.
Kinda. We'll get to that though. And then probably the other, like there's a couple more to come, but like straight off the bat, the other significant change is they're getting rid of the elimination rounds. Now, I reckon if you're a CT surfer, it is nice to sort of have those couple reset rounds to begin with, just to get your feet in the wax and get moving. But I think if they're getting rid of the cut, I reckon this is fair. Like you're gonna have your year, so it's fine. You just really got to make sure you max out your chances to begin with. So, and it allows the comps to run in better waves because they can get rid of a couple of rounds straight away.
Well, it's a fair few hours that you can get rid of out of your day sheet.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I'm with you. That's totally all good in my book.
Yeah, and then finally, really the ladies side of things, their tour grows from 18 to 24, which I think it's time. Like it's going to be a little less tight, which is handy for them. But I think the talent pool now is allowed for this to happen. There's enough good surfers in the world to allow an extra six surfers to come on and compete with the world's best. So I think now's a good time. But do you want to start with the tour itself? So like run into the first few events for us.
Straight into the trifecta in Oz.
Yeah.
I think that's great. It's back to, and for anyone who's kind of new to the surfing space, I doubt you are listening to our podcast, but anyway, all the changes we just went through pretty much are going back to the old way.
Yeah.
It feels like if we wrap that up, they've pretty much just gone in 5 years or however long. How long has it been going like that for? 5 years?
It's been a few, yeah.
In the 5 years, we gave it a test. And it turns out we didn't need to reinvent the wheel. So I actually donned the hat to WSL for going and trying, failing, and not just, massaging their way through it all the time, like continuing forward from now. They've kind of gone, hey, look, we tried it. It didn't really work as we expected it to. We're going back to the prior method. And I think that's a really good thing. But yeah, back to your point, straight back to Aussie, I think that's going to impress a lot of people.
Yeah, back to God's country, where it belongs. I think every year, and look, Snapper isn't the first venue anymore.
It would have been fucking great. It just would have been the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Snapper rocks, and then Quickie get the rights back to it so we can start calling it the Quickie Pro again. Because I don't know about you, but when people are talking about this event at the Goldie, I'll always be like, yeah, the Quickie Pro's on.
Yeah.
Like, just growing up, it's that nostalgia. It's like hard to say.
The perfect marketing for Quicksilver, where like it's not even sponsored by that brand anymore, and people are still calling it the Quick Pro. They've done really well there. But yeah, we kick off in Oz. We go Bells first, into Margs, into Snapper. No dates have been announced yet, although we do know it will start in April. So pretty good time of year for Oz Surf.
I don't think they can move the... I'm fairly confident that the WSL have locked in dates with Margaret River, and they've also always locking in dates with Bells. Bells is Easter. Always has been, always will be. And Margie's, I don't know what the fuck goes on over there. It's another world away, but they're pretty locked in on those dates too.
Right.
So I'd say that's what's dictated probably this for and sure. The timing. As you said, no dates announced, but fuck, I hope they put some breathing room in, because that has been a touch point for the tour this year.
Definitely. Look, Snapper as well, in past years, they can't buy a forecast to save their life. So that's probably not the end of the world. We don't have dates yet. It's just kind of really beholden to what we have when they rock up there. Tour runs from April to December. We start in Australia, Bells, Margie, Snapper. Then we head to Punta Roca, El Salvador. Straight into Saquarema, J-Bay, Chopu, Fiji, Trestles. Now, that is unreal. I reckon that the guys that will qualify this year will get to surf all of those locations. That's the dream tour. And pretty much, apart from Saquarema, I think you can say every single one of those events there. I mean, we've had our bit to say about Bells too in the past, but they're all very idyllic locations, and I think people will be pretty pumped to rock up at these venues.
Yep, I agree. We've been harping on about it in prior episodes. A high performance left would have been fantastic. Although when you look at that list, it's an all-star cast. It's hard to get angry at it. They've done exceptionally well. They're becoming staples. There was a moment where each year was different, and it was kind of like, well, what the fuck are we going to have next year? These names are starting to solidify themselves moving forwards. Which is great. I love that Chopes is on there. Everyone gets to surf Chopes because it's so good to see the rookies go to Chopes. So glad that one's there. But yeah, that's not the end after Trestles, hey?
No, so after these first 9 events, we get into what has been called the postseason.
There was question marks instantly. Everyone was going, yeah. Oh, okay. What the fuck is this?
So the postseason...
It's not come on, call it something else.
This is not a cut, Zach. It's not a cut. Don't call it a cut. Although it sort of feels like one. So the surfers who are not ranked within the top 24 and top 16 females, they will sit out of the following 2 events. So Abu Dhabi Wave Pool, they won't be at, and Peniche also in Portugal. So they will, if you're not in those top 24 and top 16 on the men's and ladies, you will not surf in those 2 events. However, all of the surfers will return for the final event of the season, which rightfully so is the Pipe Masters. That's pretty much the other, as well as like Australia being the beginning. I think everything else just feels right to have Pipe at the end.
100%.
Yeah.
No one is angry about that.
No.
It's been the narrative for so many years.
Yeah.
And to get rid of it, it caused friction and it never settled.
For sure.
It was a talking point, that has continued right through. Some people got over the cut. Some people got over things, but that one, to me, felt like it. It stuck out.
You've got to have this, if not just for the wave itself, but just the historical value of this event. Like the best surfers that have ever graced this tour have pretty much won this event. And you've got all those like historical moments where you've got like Kelly and Andy on the beach before the final surf off, and Kelly telling Andy he loves him, and then you got Mick the year I think his brother passed, and he went out and like just stole the show that day as well. Got his, I think, was that his third world title, or maybe his fourth. Did he have 4 in the end?
3.
Yeah. So it was his final world title. He went out and just sealed the deal there.
The best one. There's nothing that beats it. Rob Machado giving the high five to I'm going to get shot for this. Kelly.
Yeah.
And if he didn't give him the high five, he would have got back out and got the win. That's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, back to your point. So many stories.
Yeah.
And legacies there.
It's got to be here. And the other thing, the event regains its title as the Pipe Masters. So it's not like the freaking Vans Pipe Master. You know what I mean? It is the Pipeline Masters, owned by the IP is now re-owned by the Championship Tour. Vans will still be a sponsor of the event. They'll be like the footwear sponsor. But this is the top 36 in the world and the top 24 in the ladies going at it to see who can be the best at pipe that year. You don't have all the Vans wildcards that probably don't really deserve to be there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that was funny this year to see that some of the crew that got the call up and more so the crew that didn't get the call up. Yeah. You were like, what the fuck? Like the whole Jamie O'Brien saga and
for sure
and whatnot. So yeah, that's good. That it just feels right. Yeah. This whole announcement just feels right.
Yeah, I feel like as well, like even the winners of the Vans Pipe Masters, their version of this event, they probably don't consider themselves a Pipe Master either. I don't know, I could be wrong, but like the way that they were running these two events and the fact that Vans essentially stole the title of Pipe Master off the CT is like, you kind of see those few years there where they ran it and people won. You're just like, well, you didn't beat John, you didn't beat Kelly. Like it's really got to be that last event of the CT where the guys have earned their spot to be there and they're all battling it out for that title. So I'm sure you are too, very excited about this. The other thing though, this is probably like on par with the first sort of 3 we ran through in terms of developments for next year. This event is worth 15,000 points rather than 10,000. So that's something that I feel like a lot of people wouldn't have known about. So I'm still yet to get confirmation as well whether that means all of the other placings do increase in points too. You'd probably have to think they do. Like if you say a second place was worth 8,000 points, maybe it's now worth 11 or something. Mm-hmm. Still need to get confirmation on that. But that's going to have huge implications for the world title race. It's like that going to that last event and going, all right, I'm pretty far out of this picture, but if I win this event and he goes bad, like I could jump, whether it's to win the title or whether it's to even re-qualify. That's 2 dramatic changes there. I've got a theory on this too, and I reckon there's a reason they've done this. They want to have that final day at Pipe. They want to have a final series per se. So what they've done in getting rid of the top 5 and elevating this points is that you pretty much now, whereas in the past, you could kind of seal the deal at Portugal. I think now with this extra 5,000 points on the line heading into Pipe, it's going to be a lot harder for guys to win it early because there's going to be too many mathematical sort of things that can occur in the final event. So I reckon that's been a massive thinking in this, and I reckon they've gone back through previous years and gone, all right, what's an appropriate amount of points we can raise this by so that we generally are going to have some kind of surf off, at least in Hawaii. And I reckon that's the reason, but I'm all for it. Like if that's what you've got to do to sort of satisfy your finals day sort of thing that you've got going, let's do it because it's going to be sick.
I love that you even went there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone there. I love that you fucking looked into that. It's good because people who do achieve a world title before Pipe, it's a little anticlimactic. Everyone wants to see the showdown at Pipe.
Yep.
So I agree, and if that's why they've done it, then well done to them. Smashed it.
Yeah. And then really the only, like this is pretty standard. They're still going to have your throwaway results. Obviously, 12 or so of the men and however many it is of the ladies are going to sit out those 2 events prior to Pipe, but you're still going to count your best 9 of 12 results. So even if you don't go to the wave pool and then Peniche, you're still going to have a chance to have one throwaway. And like it's touched on before with the elevated points at pipe, it's going to create two storylines. It's going to create the world title, and then it's also going to create the storyline where guys coming into pipe are going to have to looking for a spot on tour for the following year. They're going to have to go hard, and there's going to have opportunity if they really want to put themselves in some precarious positions to make heats, because these points are going to be crucial for those guys at that point of the year. So exciting times, Zach.
Yes. If I was to wave a wand over the announcement and change some wording or some locations, obviously I'm very vocal about the left.
Yeah.
But to me, we need to fuck the Kelly Slater designed wave pools off. Yeah. They're just no good.
Yeah.
I just don't see them having a future any more than what they have now. I can't see them growing, or what I mean by that is becoming more exciting.
Yeah.
Whereas there is numerous wave pools out there now with different technology that is way more exciting. I'm a little bit shocked that WSL have not gone down this path and selected another pool or thrown in another pool, or in any sense a specialty event.
Yeah.
Given that, people like Natural Selection are lurking in the shadows, there would have to be more that we just don't know about lurking, saying how we're going to reinvent the surf industry or whatever. To me, it needs a little more innovation. Although it's great, I just worry about the Abu Dhabi wave pool.
Yeah, like that event is a bit of a downer almost every year.
It never has been a hit. Yeah. There was some stat, like you probably know, you're an analytical guy. The first year that Kelly Slater's wave pool was on tour, it was like a record event. And then the following year, it was the least watched event on tour because it is so monotonous at times.
Yeah,
I feel like having it in Abu Dhabi with fucking Lamborghinis parked out the front, it's cool, but it's going to have the same death, a slow death. Well, actually, it was quite a fast death for Kelly's one.
Mm.
I don't know. I would love to see an air-specific specialty event for men's, but primarily for women's.
Yeah.
It needs to be in there. I don't see why they haven't introduced this yet.
Yeah, and Stab High runs in a couple of weeks. I was speaking to little Leihani Zorik this morning at out in front of the surf club where I surfed, and I was just asking about, like, she's pretty pumped to go, and I was like, oh, so like, what have you been practicing? And she was telling me all the sort of her little plan for what she's going to do on the rights and the lefts, and I was like, that's so sick for her. Like, she's this young crew of female surfers that are coming through now, and they're trying this stuff. And I think you've got to, in a few years, like maybe not so much now, because there's only so many ladies on tour that can probably do airs. But in this next sort of 5-10 years of girls coming through, you're going to have every single one of them can throw down a pretty solid air. And I reckon they've got to create a venue where that's possible. And I get that I feel like the WSL, there's something there with they own part of the pool or whatever. So it's
starting to smell like that.
Yeah. Like I know they've really pushing it, and I reckon if you looked into it deep enough, you might not even have to look that deep. Like, it's probably pretty public knowledge that they'd own some part of that pool. So they obviously want to plug it, but to have that, maybe even if they just chuck like a rock in the middle of the pool or something, and like where it's shallower, and it gives them a little bit of fluff to do an air on or something.
Well, apparently the Abu Dhabi pool can have an air at the end, yet they went for a closeout fucking barrel. Makes no sense.
Yeah, well, you can't, like, that was the thing as well. I feel like Jackson Bunch did a lot of heavy lifting for that event with those alley-oops he was throwing down in Italo too. But you can't really, that last section is either just sit in the barrel or you race ahead of it and do a alley-oop or an air or something. Imagine if there's just a big foamy end section that guys can just launch off, and if they do a big air, they're going to get a huge score. Like, it's going to reward that. So maybe that's something they could look into. But I mean, we've got to be pretty thankful for the other changes they've made. Like, if that's the only thing we're complaining about, I feel like they've done a pretty good job.
It could have gone so much worse.
Yeah, 100%.
I think when WSL say, hey, we're going to do an announcement, everyone just goes, fuck, brace for impact.
Yeah.
So for this one, they've come out swinging and they've hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
Although it would have been good to get this sense of tradition meets innovation. It kind of just feels like they've just gone back.
Yeah.
Like a cut and paste, yep, we've gone back. And funny you mentioned that the women's side of the tour will grow in capacity.
Yeah.
It'll be so interesting to see what the age demographic will be then.
Yeah.
It's going to be your Leonie Zoriks and things like that. And like you were just saying, and the reason why it comes to mind is it needs to be a tour more accommodating for that next generation and what they're doing and provide the pathway from there rather than saying, here it is, this is, what we've got. It kind of just doesn't have that innovation feel for me.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I'm pretty pumped with everything that they did. I feel like the innovation there as well. You're right in that it does go back to that old sort of format, but I feel like the real big innovation is obviously they get rid of the elimination rounds. So it's just really you got to push it from the beginning, and also the pipe having extra points available. So it's like there's two things what they've changed. Like, fair enough, they're probably not wanting to push it too hard straight away. Like they'll probably make amendments as we go, but I feel like for us to end up with this for next year, I'm already more excited for next year than I am for the rest of this year. So it's, like I said,
we'll just have to wait and see what dates they slap over these ones.
Yeah. Well,
if it's anything like this year, it'll be a dog's breakfast.
They've had that in mind too. So obviously this whole... all these developments, they're working with the surfers in this, and that was a big thing that was raised by the Surfers Union or whatever they've got. That was a big factor. So they want to have bigger breaks in between events, which is
100%.
Completely fair enough. So yeah, April to December. So I feel like in that time they're going to have enough room for certain chunks of time at home for people.
What would you change if you could?
Probably the wave pool, like we touched on. I'm pretty happy with the rest of it. That's fine. I get you've got to have Saquarema in there because Brazil is such a massive market for surfing. So like
big old fucking party.
Yeah, and it's probably the least. Although Bells is probably less entertaining than Saquarema sometimes. Like with some of the maneuvers they're throwing down in Brazil. But you got to have Bells and you got to have Saquarema. So like not changing that. That's fair enough. Pretty much the pool. I'm happy with it though. Like just let's run with that. Happy to leave that there. I feel like we've done a pretty good job of covering that. We'll just move now into Surfer of the Week. Now, we've both got the same one. Again, this is becoming a thing, but pretty much can't ignore the wave that you posted it on a story this week.
Oh, this is fucked up.
I got dizzy watching it. I almost had to sit down watching it. Who is it?
Bronson Matey. Fucking wizard in the air. There's no other way to put it. He is such a wizard in the air.
It was skits. So we got alley-oop.
Which one?
Into cutback, into alley-oop. And then he just was like, he tied himself up one way. May as well spin it back the other way and just release everything. So, yeah, full road at the end.
Yep.
3 huge airs, one wave. Just, you can't really... No one else this week did... I'd go as far as saying no one else in the world this week did that on a wave. Maybe for a few weeks. Maybe longer.
I'd have to say year.
Well, I don't know.
There's not many people on this planet that can mimic that wave from start to finish.
It was
and complete it.
Very impressive.
And they weren't like little cheese whizzes either. No. They were every single one. If you look at them singly, were an established great air.
You'd if you threw down, if you just take those airs in isolation, you do one at a time in an event. You're probably getting a 6 for each of them at least, maybe more. So
we got a 12.
He got an 18.
Yep. But the thing I love about it is you watch him pull off and there's no claim. There's no stand tall, chest in the air. He's just like, yeah, fuck it. And that's Bronson, man. He's chilling. He's mad chilling. Crazy shit.
Surfer of the week, Bronson. Well done, mate.
Good on you, fella.
And then we'll finish off with a little just early rounds recap of what's happened this week at Burleigh. We obviously got that news, so that was pretty vital for us to get through and just explain what's going on, because even I didn't know. I had to go and do some pretty heavy research before this to go and find out what exactly had changed. And I feel like there's a lot of people. I've been working in the shop this week and people have been asking me what do you reckon? And also what is the post-season or whatever it is? And I was like, I actually don't know. So
how good's that? What are you doing in your post-season? Nothing different.
Yeah.
Just going to the next event. Makes no sense. Call it something else, please.
Pretty much, apart from the few crew that don't go. But then...
They get a real post-season.
Yeah, but they go to pipe, so it's like...
But there's going to be more, because this also leaves major ramifications for the Challenger Series.
Yeah.
And there's already talks of different points. Everything's going to be different points. There's going to be perhaps a shake-up. It's going to have to be formatted different. It's going to have to run for the whole year. Early signs are looking like it's going to go back to its old traditional ways. You're going to have 2 parallel tours. You're going to have the World Tour and the Challenger Series run pretty much side by side from start to finish. Whoever gets to the end of the year, there you are. You've made it to the end. You're in the top. Whatever it might be now. It's obviously going to be different for women's. You're on the tour. Rather than like the current process where you have 6-7 months off and it starts in July. From September, October last year to July this year. It's tricky, and it's so that those guys that don't make the cut can go back onto they go down a level and they jump back on the Challenger Series. I think now without the cut, all signs are pointing to a parallel tour.
No,
that'll all come out. We'll have to.
That is all to be confirmed. So when we get more news on that, we'll head into it. But look, event at Burleigh got off to a pretty mediocre start. Uneventful. We have had 3 consecutive days off now. We record this on a Wednesday afternoon. Thursday, tomorrow, looking like we might get a start again, maybe, if we're lucky. But allegedly, you wrote this down, this saves them around $50,000 a day.
That's what I've heard.
In costs to run the event.
So rarely, very rarely, will WSL come out on this day. It was Monday. And they said, we're not going to run for not tomorrow, not for the next day, but we'll even have a call for the following day. They never do that, guys. This is pretty huge. I spoke to a few crew at the WSL and they don't really recall a call like this. For them to come out and say, hey, we're not running for 3 days and that's it. Like, as soon as you post it on Instagram, if the waves were magically good, which might I add, Monday afternoon I was up there at the awards, which was at the event site. Pretty fucking fun.
Looked all right.
Was not bad at all. There was 50 people out. The CT servers were out there. The WSL judges were out there. Like, it was highly contestable. Was it pumping? No. But it must have been pretty scary for them to go, let's do it. We're going to have to just say, nah, we're not going to do it. Today, it was awful, so they would have been waking up going, thank fuck for that. But yeah, so the $50,000 a day, I think that's things like your security. You can say to the security, hey, look, we're not going to run. We still need some, but instead of 30, we need 20. There's wages for 3 days. Catering staff, hire equipment, broadcast team. Broadcast teams are super expensive. They're probably still there, but yeah, for them to save 150K and with very little, risk of it being good, the forecast was never going to say it's going to be fucking magical. I feel like they've made the right call here.
No, for sure. And like I said, there hasn't been waves. We kind of, the first 2 days that they ran were 2 to 3 foot clean Burleigh. It looked fun.
I wouldn't even throw the 3er in there.
2 foot.
I was going to say 1 to 2 feet for the current days that have run.
Well, look, it was small, put it that way. They got a few heats done. They got all of the first 2 rounds of each event. So we did lose we lost 2 girls, and I think we lost 4 blokes straight away. It was challenging, fast down the line, Burleigh. Not really what you'd want to stand and watch it at the Pav there. As you drink a few beers.
No, but fuck, it's such a good event.
Yeah.
It's fucking ginormous down there, Finley. You haven't been up there just yet, hey?
No.
It's such a big event. So they've pretty much got an activation or a tent of some kind or anything event related on every little piece of grass, pardon me, on that whole hill. So it's huge. So back to my point, the waves, it's going to be a bonus, but the amount of people that event draws in, it just feels like a great atmosphere. They've had Spiderbait playing live and free. They've had heaps of bands in the surrounds of Burleigh. They had an expression session as well. They're kind of doing pretty well. It makes me smile that, you get these fucking doomy gloomies saying, the surf industry's fucking dead. Well, for those sad motherfuckers, go down to this event and have a look. It's not dying anytime soon.
It's booming. And finals day is going to be huge. Like you imagine the hill there. There's going to be plenty of people packed out on that hill. So it's right there. Just a shame that the Waves haven't really sort of agreed with the event so far.
Well, not the event, the year.
Or the year. It's a bit of a trend of 2025, I guess. But what did you like? Probably maybe the biggest talking point of the first 2 days was the Crosby Joel Vaughan interference call. What's your read on that? Or non-interference call?
The lack of the interference call.
Yeah.
Look, personally, I fucking hate it when I'm going left and someone's paddling in the same direction.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. If it's fucking Jaws, yeah, because that person's trying to get out of harm's way either way. But for me, if it's not a wave of consequence, why the fuck are you paddling the same way I am?
Yeah.
They're just, two paths are on track to meet, and more often than not they meet. So for Crosby to just leisurely paddle straight back out without it, look, I didn't see it in the flesh. I was just watching on the webcam. It didn't really look like he changed his path.
No.
And for me, that deems an interference. That surfer has right of way of that wave and the wave in its entirety.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because that first day of surfing, it was super short interval. So like, it's not that much gap between waves. So generally on a point break, you've got ample time to, if you see someone coming, you can just paddle to the wash and duck dive rather than paddle up the face of their wave. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt there that he just basically pulled off his wave and then the next wave was right on top of him and he kind of had nowhere to go. And I think sometimes in that scenario, the best thing to do is not move because you try and move out of someone's way and then suddenly you're in their way even more. So I think you'd hope to think he hadn't done that on purpose. And also there's quite a significant health risk if you do get in someone's way because that board has at least 4 pointy edges that could do some serious damage to you. I'd like to think he didn't do it on purpose, and for that reason alone, it's probably, I think they made the right call with the non-interference.
But it's not whether you meant it or not; it's whether you're just there. Sometimes it's unfortunate to get an interference.
Right. So you're going the path of sucks that happened to you, but you're in his way.
Sucks that happened, but here's a fucking interference.
Cool. And now you sort of put it that way. I actually kind of agree. We had a call a few years back with Zeke Lau and Jack Robbo at Sunset, pretty solid sized Sunset. And I think I'm getting this right. It was Zeke on the wave and Jack paddling back out. And Zeke packed a pretty crazy like end bowl barrel at Sunset. And Jack was just paddling back out and Zeke emerged pretty much directly on top of Jack. And it started like incomplete barrel ride. No score really for him. And I'm pretty sure Jack ended up going on to win that final anyway. I'm pretty sure it was a final. In that scenario, like this, I guess you could call it's a similar situation. So yeah, look, I can get on board with that. If you're in the way, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's just unfortunate to the guy who doesn't have priority in that situation, which is the person paddling out.
And I totally accept the fact that he did not mean to do that. But at the end of the day, like, you are where you are and he's just a bad place at a bad time and there has to be ramifications for that. Would it impact the score? I'm not sure. It wasn't like a home run on Joel's.
But you'd have to think he makes that turn.
You would have to think he changed course. This is another aspect.
Yeah.
Did any involvement in Crosby change his course? And in my opinion, that is what warrants an interference.
Yep.
He interfered with his wave. If you look at it on just purely face value, it makes perfect sense.
And I think like it's important maybe now, like with that call being pretty like, it's a pretty vocal thing across the surfing community right now where people are talking about it. Like, do you just put a line in the sand now and go, if that happens again, we're going to that's it. This is a new rule. If you get in someone's way, as unfortunate as it may be, you're going to cop an interference. Even if it's not a priority interference, maybe if it's like the old school one where you get half your wave axed rather than the full wave.
That's still around. It's just that before priority interference is a full cut.
Yeah. So like maybe if they just run with like the normal interference rule and you don't necessarily lose your whole score. That could be a way you could run it.
It's funny you say that. It does feel like they only deem it an interference if they think there's a little bit of malice at play.
Yeah.
It needs to just be a blanket, hey, sorry, you're just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
But you still got in the way of a surfer.
And to that as well, like there's plenty of interferences where guys just have no idea. Like they burn someone because they think they're too deep, and then all of a sudden they're right behind them and they've gone, oh no, I've just ruined my day. That is still an interference, and they didn't mean to like burn them. Ideally they wouldn't have, but they've done it and they've copped the interference. So like, yeah, I actually think that's a really good call by you, and I reckon that should be the ruling. Yes, not often we agree, but it's good.
We've agreed on camera. Let's get the time and date and frame it.
Really not much to touch on. We'll just go through some standouts and disappointments, I think, just to finish this off. My first standout, I think Griff's back. I think it's you can officially say he's back on track this year now.
I agree.
Yeah, didn't win his...
look at us agreeing.
He didn't win his first heat, so like you're like, oh, maybe not. But he just came out in his elimination round and he just let fly.
Yeah.
Just put up very impressive heat total. I think he had an 8 and a 7 or something. He had over 15 points. Just really put together a very impressive heat. Had some guys in his heat that also dropped scores. And in the theme of Griff's year this so far has been he's been ripping. It's just the guys verse him and they elevate their performance to end up beating him. So I think that was like almost a moment where it's like, all right, I'm back. You've just put like 13, 14 points on me. Maybe the last couple of events I would have lost this heat, but I've just smoked yous and I'm ready to make a run in this event. My other one is Connor O'Leary. Bit of dad energy. He's getting his dad power. Very worried for him after his round 1 heat, but we'll put that down to lack of sleep. He went full dad mode in his elimination round. Tiny waves, big guy, didn't stop him. 14 points. The guys were just fighting for second place.
He got kissed on the dick by a fairy with the arrival date of his newborn, because that was such a stressful time for him, not knowing, okay, when is this thing going to come out? I've got literally, when you look at the schedule, it's fucked. It's just back to back to back.
Yeah.
And then throwing in a newborn birth, well, fuck, that send us up, but throwing in the birth of your newborn makes it so hard because it's an uncontrollable. So he was just blessed. It happened in between the two events. Didn't miss out. Unfortunately, not the same for his good mate, Ryan. He was just a few days later than Connor. And both these boys, we spoke about it, and a lot of people were like, so what are you going to do? Like, because they both need results.
Yeah.
Ryan more than Connor. What are you going to do? Like, do you miss it? And they're both like, fuck no, not missing it for the world. They said they've spoken to other dads and they said that they've missed it. So in the exact same scenario as them, professional surfer, at the peak of your performance, what do you do? And they said, yep, we've missed it. And I think about it every day.
Right.
So they've just, from that day, just gone, nah, they've done their homework. That's it. Wherever it fucking is, it could be Final Five or whatever. They're not going to miss it. So Connor got away with that one. Unfortunately, Ryan opting out. He did flirt the idea of coming to surf his elimination heat, although that didn't come to fruition for him. Replacing him was Morgan.
Yeah. I did hear as well, Hello Sport podcast, they had a chat to Julian Wilson, who was actually going to be in Ryan's elimination round heat. And Julian has just signed Ryan to some kind of... He's basically sponsored Ryan. I think it goes a bit further than just a standard sponsorship, though. I think there's maybe some equity in his business there.
100%. He's an investor in that business.
Yeah. So, but Julian was like... He was basically running through the scenario, and he's going... I've got Ryan in my elimination round heat. I don't know, like if I've got priority and Ryan needs a score, I'm dead set going to push him into the wave. Like he was just like, I can't basically take him off tour. So it's kind of...
I call fucking bullshit on that.
I agree.
I reckon that bald eagle would take the wave right out from Ryan's mitts.
I tend to agree with you.
Fucking no way. Give me back my $20. I want to rebet that would not fucking happen.
Yeah, I imagine he probably takes the wave too, but on...
Well, you got 1,000 people on the beach. It's Cook and Burleigh, and Ryan's standing in a barrel on his backhand, which is hard enough. and you're saying he's got priorities, not going to go. Fucking zero chance.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you.
Oh, I sniff bullshit there, Julesy.
He did say this though, but yeah, Ryan. Unfortunately for him, that's pretty much sealed his fate. He's not going to be on tour next year.
Yeah, that's going to be almost impossible mathematically, I'm guessing.
Yeah. He's going to need. It probably is. He at worst he'd need to win.
Yeah,
Probably Margie's, and it hasn't looked good for him thus far, so probably not going to happen for him.
But hey, look, I don't even think that's at the forefront of his mind right now.
He probably doesn't care. He's just like, I'll get back. He'll get back there. I've got every faith he'll get back. So yeah, who's your standouts though from day 1 and 2?
I hate jumping on the gravy train of the whoever's hot at the moment, but fuck, Italo looked good.
Yeah,
he looked really good. He looked so fast, so powerful, and he pretty much threw everything in his bag of tricks into this one heat.
Yeah,
he did powerful turns, really flowy, not that like hop. You know, when he gets this little hop and he's like, it's like his mind's ticking 1,000 miles an hour. He's like, he's like that little that kid off Rugrats, like Spike, whatever his fucking name is. That's sometimes what he looks like.
Yeah.
But in this particular heat, he looked cool, calm, and collected, and just looked unstoppable. Throwing down rotations, big backhand blowtails, throwing lots of spray, and looking really solid. He's going to be really fucking hard to beat. Yep. At a wave that I would say is very advantageous to a natural footer.
Yep.
It's so fast, it's tricky, it's shallow bottom, so it's got that real scoopy, shitty fucking lip to try and work with on your backhand. It's like real hollowed out as it's hitting that bank. He just looked like he was toying with it.
Unless you're Italo, who doesn't mind putting his knees into the flats. So like that's kind of works. It almost works out well for him in that regard. He's happy to race down the line and get that big crunchy barrely end section and just send himself off it. So maybe it does work for him. Who was your other one?
Look, I just kind of semi-roasted him then, but Jules, fuck, he looked good.
He did
and
look
for
good.
someone that, he's not old.
No.
But there's crew who probably think he's old because he's been on the tour for so long and already had a successful career.
And he's running the skinhead as well, which
he
doesn't
is.
help.
Fuck, it was shiny in that sunlight.
It was.
Fucking real shiny. For me, I expected him to just go out and put a milk and potatoes kind of performance together and get a 5 or a 6. But to come out and fucking do big punts and show that he's still relevant, I kind of loved it.
Yeah.
He obviously wasn't the standout of the day, but I would say he was a standout in my mind for just his attitude and the way that he put that heat together.
Yep, no, couldn't agree more. We'll do... I've seen your disappointment here. I think it's best we don't say your one.
Nah, it's worth talking about. In my opinion, it's, and I really mean this respectfully, but Nadia, you're going to have to help me with the last name.
Aristabe.
Nadia Aristabe, just struggling to put any sort of performance on the tour. It must be hard to, go through the ranks and surf as well as you do and not get to achieve the success that she's obviously looking for. But it's really starting to show, in my opinion. And yeah, it's just tough.
Not what he's got written down, but we'll gloss past that.
I provided a PG version for Nadia's sake, if you get my drift.
Yeah. My one, Jack Robinson. Worst result he's had since 2023. Ironically, he puts this together 30 minutes after we posted a reel praising him as the world's most well-round surfer. So...
yeah, that's the commentator's curse right there.
Really is. The comment section definitely let us know about it. Thank you, Chris Zaffis. Really, though, I think this was a case of... I just think it was his boards just completely failing him. I don't know if you watched his heat. Pretty much looked like he had a big chunk of seaweed or a brick attached to his leg rope. Just looked like he was going backwards. Those sharp eyes... for all their amazing traits, they have looked amazing underfoot for him thus far since he's been riding him. Definitely not suggesting he gets off him. The issue you have with that, though, is that you got to give somewhere. And just because they're so rocket out, like 2 foot, slopey, burly heads is not going to be the place where they're going to perform in. He just didn't look like he was going the same pace as Julian and Morgan in that elimination round heat, and he didn't really look like he stood a chance. I feel like it's a hard one because with the boards, you need him to be versatile. You need to be able to get a good board for the conditions that you're facing. Just across across the scene of things though, like the sharp eyes, they just really do perform better when the waves are good, and you could really tell in that heat. Morgs was on. Funnily enough, Morgs was on a sharp eye, but it just seems like, I don't know what model he's riding or whether he's fine-tuned it a little bit more. His looked amazing. Just Jack's one looked like it was horrific. And then Julian JS, I believe, which they're pretty versatile too. Yeah, don't know. I do think Robbo's boards didn't give him any help in that heat. What did you think
I
of
reckon
that?
he was hungover from his Bells win.
Maybe. Look, it's
just for our viewers, there's 0% chance of that. He doesn't drink. So.
He's the ultimate professional.
Yeah.
Look, not to worry for Jack though. It's a minor bump in the road for his.
It's his throwaway.
It's his throwaway,
and that's why there's a throwaway.
Yeah, and his next event is Margie's, where he's the defending champ.
Yep.
So I think it's all good. We still stand by, or definitely me, I stand by the statement. He's the world's most well-rounded surfer.
I didn't stand by that, but
you semi-agreed, but I'm happy to go on record and just say no one's amazing in everything, but I just feel like across the board he has a lot more assets in his back pocket across each condition. Like I think big waves, barreling waves, like now wally waves, like your point breaks and stuff. He's shown he can do it there. Yeah, he's probably not as good in the smaller stuff, but he can still get it done. And the skill set he has in those bigger, hollower waves probably makes up a little bit for what he lacks in the smaller waves. I just think you compare him across like a multitude of surfers across the world, he's probably going to come out on top, or if not close to it. You've maybe got John, and like we in the comment section as well, this has been another one, like John and Gabby have been thrown around a fair bit, which it's hard to argue with. The only thing really though, it's just relevance right now. Both of them, Gabby's injured, John's taken a leave of absence from the tour. So front of mind right now is Jack, and I just think he's got the edge there. So I'm defending him in that regard.
Fair enough. He just kind of sucked eggs at Burleigh.
Yeah, no.
Is what it is.
That's it. But yeah, that's pretty much what we got for you guys this week. We've kind of done our very best to break down this whole situation, what's going on. Hopefully we've done a good job.
Yep, and it's still more to come, so we can always correct ourselves if we made a fool of ourselves in this episode, which we do most days.
Any other questions or anything though, drop a comment on YouTube or Instagram. We'll be posting reels from this. And like I said off the top, would really mean a lot to us if you can follow, like, subscribe at the Largo Podcast.
We're nearly at 1,000 on the
Instagram. Yeah, we're pretty much 750. And the goal, I've got it written down in my phone. The goal for when we started this in January, or even just slightly before, was 1,000 followers by the end of the year. It's looking like if we keep going the way we're going, it's going to be 1,000 by sort of midway through the year. So we might have to readjust that. But yeah, we're on trend. So help us out.
If we get 1,000, Finley's going to shit himself, literally. So make it happen.
I'm not. But yeah, thanks again for listening, guys. We'll leave it there, and we will see you next week.
Yes, you will. Bon voyage.
Thank you.